Amount of competing stimuli has an effect too. A stimulus is easier to process when there's few things surrounding it competing for your attention. For instance, you're more likely to notice a billboard when driving down a deserted rural highway than when you're in a congested, sign-filled city. Just as you're more likely to notice a brand name in a visually simple ad than in one that is visually cluttered. Companies seek moments and locations where competition for attention for their stimuli is limited. Contrast with competing stimuli. Contrast captures attention. Color newspaper ads stand out because they're surrounded by black and white print, just as black and white TV ads stand out during TV shows that are broadcast in color. For contrast, some winemakers put images of unusual animals on their labels to help their products' labels stand out on the shelf. In one study on retail advertising, it was found that attention was highest when an ad differed from all the other ads surrounding it and when these other ads were very similar to each other. Make stimuli personally relevant. Personally relevant stimuli appeal to consumers' needs, values, emotions, or goals. If a food ad can be placed in a time or location where people are hungry, such as while they're sitting at home watching a cooking show on Food Network, then consumers are more likely to pay focal attention to the ad. Advertisers also show spokespersons that are similar to the target audience in their ads to increase self-relevance. Another way to increase personal relevance is by using dramas or mini-stories that depict the experiences of actors or consumers through a narrative in one or more ads.
No.
You're making this up.
No.
She came on to you.
I was walking during the street and from the other side. Hey, who is that?
She catcalled you? No.
Он дружил с моим Павликом.
And that's a different story.
Oh, you stole her from her boyfriend?
And since then, I'm suffering.
They lived happily ever after for how many years? 50?
110.
To ensure that consumers voluntarily attend to a marketing message, it must contain information that is relevant and important to them. In other words, it must appeal to consumer involvement, which is the perceived personal importance and/or their interest attached to the acquisition, consumption, and disposition of a good, service, or idea. Greater involvement leads to greater motivation to attend to, comprehend, and elaborate on information that's pertinent to the purchase. Research has identified two types of involvement: situation involvement and enduring involvement. Situational involvement occurs over a short period of time and is tied to a specific, often temporary but urgent situation, such as a need to replace a broken car window or to obtain an effective remedy for an illness. Enduring involvement represents a longer commitment and concern with a product class. For example, if a consumer consistently spends time thinking about sports cars and reading sports car magazines every day, then this consumer is manifesting enduring involvement. These two types of involvement can even exert a combined influence that heightens consumer response even more. Think about a die-hard football fan, this is enduring involvement, responding to football-related messages during the Super Bowl, situational involvement. So what happens when involvement is heightened? Research shows that consumers begin to process information more deeply and actively. Attention becomes more focused and more serious, and consideration via extensive thought is given to a decision made under high involvement. High involvement consumers engage in a more extended decision process and move through each stage of decision making in a more thorough, deliberative manner. High involvement with a product or service leads consumers to seek out and attend to relevant information about that high involvement product or service. This voluntary focus of attention is known as selective attention. For instance, if you're on the market for a new car, your attention will be on the lookout for relevant information about car prices and models. You will even start to notice a particular car model you're interested in more often when you are out on the road. Advertisers benefit from this heightened situational involvement by placing their marketing messages in places where consumers with high levels of involvement will likely be seeking out this type of information. Marketers can also segment customers by the type of stimuli that they're likely to pay attention to. In particular, researchers have identified consumer segments that are more likely to be affected by the relevance of an ad, by its pleasantness, by its surprise, and so ads can be targeted toward those different segments of customers. One of the major problems for marketers trying to obtain consumer attention is habituation. When a stimulus becomes too familiar, it can lose its attention-getting ability through habituation. Consumers become habituated to ads, packages, and other marketing stimuli. To counter this, marketers can alter the stimulus periodically, such as when a logo or a brand mascot is updated over time. Also, sometimes companies develop multiple ads that communicate the same basic message but in different ways and in different media. Habituation also explains why marketers sometimes change packaging to attract consumers' attention anew, such as Campbell's Soup Company, which started to package its soups in pouches, which is an unusual type of packaging for this category, but effective to attract attention.